Well, it looks like with the Samsung Galaxy A16, this is the newest and latest and greatest from Samsung. And with the A25, I think this is also a really decent phone that Samsung made last year. So let's go ahead and kind of see how both these phones somewhat kind of compare here. If you want to pick up either one of these phones up, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, the Samsung Galaxy A25 on the front side is giving you a 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display. And with this phone, it's a full HD panel, and it's like not a bad panel, right? It's 120 Hz, 1000 nits of brightness. And I would say in majority of ways, that is kind of the better panel here. The only disadvantage of this compared to the A16 is that it's smaller and you're getting a little bit more bezel around it. So that's kind of the big thing to keep in mind. Whereas on the Samsung Galaxy A16, this phone is basically going to be giving you a bigger 6.7-inch Super AMOLED display. So that panel and that kind of display is probably going to be the better looking one here. It's also 90 Hz, which is a pretty big advantage there for that type of phone. And I do think if you are going to go through and pick up a device, it is a really nice thing to have a phone like the Samsung Galaxy A25 that's giving you 120 Hz. But the A16 still looks pretty good with its panel and its like low, with its low amount of bezel. So that right there's another very big thing to keep in mind here too. Now on top of that, another big thing to keep in mind here too is that in my personal opinion, a device like both of them feel pretty good. There's not too much to complain about here when it comes down to both of them. You're both getting USB Type-C ports, micro SD card slot, things like that. Plastic back on the back side of both of them, so nothing really changes when it comes down to that. Beyond that, like I said before, there's not really too much to complain about here when it comes down to either one of these either. Camera-wise, both are giving you triple camera setups, which is phenomenal. I love having triple camera setups here. With the Samsung Galaxy A25, this phone is going to be giving you a 50 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and 2 megapixel macro lens. Whereas on the Samsung Galaxy A16, you're going to be getting 50 megapixel wide, 5 megapixel ultra wide, and 2 megapixel macro lens. The thing here is that looking at the megapixel count, you might assume that the Samsung Galaxy A16 is better. I actually think the A25 is better. One, higher megapixel ultra wide camera, which is going to be used a lot, and you're getting 4K at 30 frames per second on the back of the Galaxy A25. I think that right there is a pretty big advantage for that type of phone. And I do think if you are going to go through and pick up a device, it would make a lot of sense to go and buy a phone like an A25 just because of the more advantage there. But I think the A16 still performs and looks pretty good there too, so I don't really have that much to complain about there when it comes down to that side. When it comes down to the software longevity, both these phones are also very good when it comes down to how long these phones are going to last. So I do like both these devices. I think both these phones do a really good job at basically handling the performance and everything that I throw at it. But when it comes down to the software side, Samsung basically stated that the A16 is going to be getting like multiple years, like 5 to 6 versions of Android, which is kind of crazy. The A25 is basically getting 4 major versions of Android. So when it comes down to that side, the tricky thing here is that there's a chance with the A25, it's probably not going to last as long as the A16. Is it a massive issue? Probably not, but it could be a pretty big issue depending on who you are. So that right there I think is another big thing to keep in mind. Battery life wise, both are giving 5,000 mAh batteries inside of it, which is amazing. That's always a really nice thing to have. And I generally do think if you are going to go through and get either one of these devices, it is really nice to go and get both of these like that, in my personal opinion too. Finally, when it comes down to the performance, both of these phones, once again, are very good performing devices too. So, they're good for how cheap these phones are. Exynos 1280 inside of the A25. You're getting the Exynos 1330 inside of the A16. So that right there, in my personal opinion too, I'd probably say something like the A16 is probably not going to be as good as the A25 in some cases. They both tap out at 8 gigabytes of RAM. They both start at 4 gigs of RAM, so not too many insane differences there, but I probably would say at the end of the day, a phone like the Galaxy A25 might be the better one here from the performance side, but the A16 is still pretty decent. So to sum it up, I think both these phones are great for how cheap they are, but I probably would tell you, like I've said before, it might make a lot more sense to go and buy a device like a Samsung Galaxy it might make more sense to go and buy something like a Samsung Galaxy A25 for now. But if you're watching this a couple years from now, then it might make more sense to go and buy something like a Samsung Galaxy A16. That one might be better because that one is going to last longer when it comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there too for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.